Good evening. We are so happy to see you all. We are so grateful that you've come back to see the night show. And my middle school friends who are up in the back there, I trust you. I know that you understand what it means to be an audience member at King School. I know your phones will be put away, and I know that you will not leave until the show is over. So thank you for that in advance. We had a great show this afternoon. We're so excited to perform again. And I'm going to introduce Alex and Anaya, who are going to get us started.
Good evening, and welcome to I Want to Fly. This is a brand new play written by our upper school drama director, Mr. Silence. Here's some context before we start.
The play takes place in a modern middle school building, and students have come together to start a new project about Leonardo da Vinci.
They are all curious to learn more about this amazing man who was an artist, scientist, engineer, and an architect.
Students tell Leonardo's story by acting out characters in his life and through improvised moments that illustrate ideas that he cared about.
The play is framed by three researchers, Kieran, Blair, and Jesse, who they all know a lot about Leonardo, so they guide our story. Most of the images you'll see up on the board are real images made by Leonardo himself.
We have had so much fun putting this play together, and we hope you'll enjoy it too.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy I Want to Fly.
Tonight, we begin a new project.
Tonight, we begin a new project.
You will complete it tonight.
It will happen in 3 stages.
Step 1, research.
Learn about your subject.
Read, study, question, and dig.
We will guide you in your studies.
We will reward you when you succeed.
We will punish you if you fail.
And we will guide you if you lose your way.
Step 2, explore.
It may be art or mathematics.
It could be history or music.
It might be literature or science.
You will make a choice.
I think I'm really cool.
Step 3, present.
You will show your work.
You will share what you know.
And you will give us all the gift of your experience.
You may work in groups.
Or you may work alone.
And the subject of your project will be
Leonardo da Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci? I've heard of him.
Leonardo da Vinci was...
Oh, let me. In addition of Michelangelo, Raphael, and Donatello, Leonardo was
A turtle and a ninja.
a painter.
The Mona Lisa.
Leonardo was much more than just a painter.
He was a scientist, a musician, an engineer, and an architect.
he studied anatomy
Botany.
Cartography.
and math.
I can also paint.
You will make a choice.
I think I'll study music. I love to sing.
I don't think Leonardo was a singer, though. He was a lawyer.
Wait, really? Maybe we can build one. You play, I'll sing.
Cool, I bet I can make one with wings. Let's check it out.
Step 1, research.
Leonardo da Vinci was born in town of Vinci in 1452. He was, of course, a baby.
At the age of 14, Leonardo moved from Vinci to Florence, where he was apprenticed to the famous artist Verrocchio.
Ah, Leonardo, so your father tells me you want to be an artist. How do you know that you have what it takes to become one? There are many, many things you have to know. First of all...
Wait, slow down. What happened back in Vinci? And why is Leonardo from Vinci called Leonardo da Vinci? And why is that baby so chubby?
That's what Da Vinci means.
Chubby baby?
No, Leonardo from Vinci. Can we go back?
Leonardo da Vinci was born in 1452. His father's name was
Piero da Vinci, and his mother's name was
Caterina Lippi.
Leonardo's parents were not married. And that made Leonardo's life challenging, as he could not join his father's business.
But being sort of an outsider gave him the freedom to pursue his own passions.
And that was a good thing.
Leonardo lived with his grandparents, Antonio and Lucia.
They were really old.
Little Leo. What a good little boy.
My youngest grandson.
He's so cute.
What are we going to feed him?
How will we keep up with him?
Because his grandparents were so old,
He would spend his days walking with his uncle Francesco.
Let's go, chubby.
Francesco was a farmer, so he spent most of his days outside. He and Leonardo would walk amongst the olive trees, exploring the vineyard vines.
Look, Leo, from up here you can see all the way to... What are you doing?
Drawing.
What are you drawing?
Leonardo always kept a notebook with him.
I'm drawing that bird.
I see. Why?
Someday I want to fly.
Oh, that's nice.
because his father was a lawyer and a businessman, Leonardo always had access to something very rare and hard to come by.
Paper! Leonardo wrote down everything. Little Leo was interested in everything.
The pages in Leonardo's notebooks were filled with writings and drawings.
He wrote everything backwards.
This is called mirror writing.
Some people think he did that so no one could read his secrets.
Like a sort of code.
The Da Vinci Code!
But this is not true.
Da Vinci was left-handed.
He wrote across the page from right to left.
He did not want to smudge the ink.
Or maybe he's afraid someone might borrow his ideas.
What are you drawing now?
Water.
Water? How do you draw water?
It moves, just like the air under the bird's wings.
Oh.
At the age of 14, Leonardo moved from Vinci to Florence to apprentice to the famous artist Verrocchio.
Ah, Leonardo, so your father tells me you want to be an artist.
Wait, that's it? Didn't he go to school? Didn't he have friends?
Are you kidding me?
Well, you see, because Leonardo's parents were not married, Leonardo couldn't attend school or learn Latin like the more wealthier, legitimate children.
Not much is known about Da Vinci's early childhood.
He spent most of his time alone with his imagination.
He taught himself reading and writing, the science of nature, and the mathematics of music.
Little Leo was ambitious.
I want to work miracles.
He dreamed big, very big.
Leonardo couldn't become a doctor or lawyer like his father was.
He could learn a trade, though.
And when his father saw what a great artist little Leo was,
He was very impressed.
Leonardo, you drew that? My son, the artist! You'll become famous and rich! I know just what to do!
Piero took Leonardo's drawings to his good friend Andrea del Verrocchio. Andrea del Verrocchio was a versatile artist and ran one of the best workshops in Florence.
Pierre wanted to know if Leonardo was a good enough artist to pursue it as a profession.
Verrocchio was astonished by the boy's talent.
This is amazing.
And so, at the age of 14, Leonardo moved to Florence.
Verrocchio's workshop was the perfect place for Leonardo. It provided a place to learn and a place to belong.
Verrocchio's workshop was the perfect place for Leonardo. It provided a place to learn and a place to belong.
Verrocchio, like Leonardo, was interested in everything.
He was a kind master, and like Leonardo, often got distracted and left often pieces unfinished.
Maybe that's where I got it from.
Veronica.
Ah, Leonardo, welcome to the best workshop in Florence. Here we create works of art to sell at the marketplace. No room for individual genius. And besides, it all has my name on it.
Your name?
You got it.
Step 1, research.
Verrocchio's studio was at the central heart of the city, Florence.
In the 1400s, Florence was the most creative place in the whole world.
Artists and artisans, economists and philosophers, musicians and writers were all drawn to Florence to work together.
All right, Leonardo, show me more of that amazing artwork. What is that?
It's a dragon. It breathes fire and pukes poison.
Fire and poison. Cool.
Whoa! What? It has the head of a wolf, the eyes of a cat,
The body of a snake.
the quills of a porcupine, the wings of a bat,
And the claws of a rooster.
the jaws of a lion, and the fins of a shark. It has the head of a wolf, the eyes of a cat,
The body of a snake.
the quills of a porcupine, the wings of a bat,
And the claws of a
the
rooster.
jaws of a lion, and the fins of a shark. It has the head of a wolf, the eyes of a cat,
The body of a snake.
the quills of a porcupine,
The wings of a bat. And the claws of a rooster.
the jaws of a lion, and the fins of a shark. Dragon!
In Verrocchio's studio, everyone worked together. The new apprentices would sweep the floors,
Swish, 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 swish.
Clean the brushes,
Ding-a-ling, 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 ding-a-ling. Sharpen the tools, ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling.
prepare the canvases,
Ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling,
and mix the colors.
crunch, 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 crunch.
Yellow is made by crushing berries,
Blue is made by crushing stones.
and red is made by crushing beetles.
Ew!
The colored pigments were combined by egg yolks to make the paint.
Which is why Verrocchio's studio was also inhabited by
Chickens! As they worked together in Verrocchio's studio, the apprentices became journeymen.
Journeymen would eventually become assistants to the master.
And eventually, assistants became the masters themselves.
For the research section of my project, I decided to keep a journal like Leonardo did. Leonardo kept all his thoughts and ideas on thousands of pages and hundreds of journals. He came up with ideas for things that wouldn't become real within his lifetime for hundreds of years. He'd crown the pages, filling them up with pictures and writing for ideas for things like city waste removal systems,
Right next to lyrics for songs.
Or sketches of characters he met on the street.
He'd worked out mathematical equations that make his grocery list for the week. I get in trouble for drawing sometimes. It doesn't help that I do it on margins of my tests or on the top of my desk. My teacher calls me a doodler. Pay attention!
Focus! Stop getting distracted!
Leonardo was known for not finishing his projects. Did you know that? So many of his most famous works are unfinished.
He would do studies of paintings of projects in such detail, like the folds and shadows of the clothes.
Or the different positions of the fingers.
But then he would get distracted by a bird's wing.
Or a horse.
Or the movements of water in a fountain.
When it was finally time for him to turn in his assignments, Leonardo had a notebook full of studies, but no finished product. I thought Verrocchio might throw him out of the studio.
Leonardo had finished painting the angels. No, sir, I decided to paint this dog and the fish instead. But did Verrocchio tell Leonardo to stop getting distracted and focus on his work? Nope. Verrocchio was a doodler too.
Nice.
Getting distracted was the work. Noticing things, observing them, and capturing them is what artists do. Verrocchio encouraged his apprentices and his assistants to follow their instincts and create the things that interested and inspired them.
While Leonardo was learning to paint in Verrocchio's studio, he was coming up with ideas for down the road.
Why is the sky blue? Describe the tongue of a woodpecker. Does the earth look like from the moon?
Some questions he answered, some he never knew. How do I know? He wrote it all down.
We're building a machine.
Something big!
Like a horse.
A giant horse.
Bigger than the Trojans!
Or a catapult.
A trebuchet.
How about a submarine?
Or a parachute.
I want a hand glider.
Something that destroys.
Yeah, a war machine.
Or something that flies.
An ornithopter.
It flaps. I can fly.
Yeah!
Da Vinci worked and painted at Verrocchio's studio for more than 10 years.
But when it was time for him to move out, he made a studio of his own.
Painters earned their money from commissions.
But Leonardo didn't just think of himself as a painter.
He wanted to work for the most powerful families in Italy.
In Florence, that was the Medici family.
I'm Lorenzo, the magnificent Medici, and I like paintings of me. Ah, that's me in the background. Good. Ooh, that's me in the front. Even better. Wait, Da Vinci? Who is that? That's not me.
That is a picture of Saint Jerome, alone in the wilderness.
He's not alone. There's a lion sitting right there.
Leo. Can I call you Leo? I'm Lorenzo, the Magnificent. I like to be in the pictures I pay for, get it?
Yes, of course, but only when the composition... Oh, I get it.
That's more like it. Now I have a mission for you. I wish you to make a lyre for the Duke of Milan. Sforza is always saying that his artists make mine look like no talent hackers, so it needs to be highly crafted and unusual, like nothing the world has ever seen. What can you do?
Well, I have some walnut in my studio. Maybe if I use the walnut and some silver in an unusual shape, like the skull of a horse.
Perfect. It's important that Sforza see that our Florentine culture can match anything they can do in Milan. Also, I happen to know he's obsessed with horses.
Sure.
This is the perfect diplomatic gift to put that pompous fool in his place. Get it done in a week. You leave in 10 days.
A week?
In Milan, the ruling family were called Sforzas.
I am Ludovico Sforza, cultured, sophisticated, and I like to fight.
The Sforzas were known for bullying, executions, and assassinations.
Leonardo needed to prove himself worthy.
What can you do for me, Da Vinci? Medici said you make pictures. But right now, I'm in the need of a more delicate and political nature. I'm not sure you're the man for the job.
Even though Leonardo was a master painter, sculptor, and designer, he decided to appeal Ludovico's other interests.
What is it you need?
Italy in the later part of the 1400s was often at war, sometimes with itself.
I need to destroy my enemies. It needs to be quiet and diplomatic. But then, the hammer needs to come down.
Leaders like the Sforzas and the Medicis needed weapons to defend themselves and attack their enemies.
I can make instruments of war, methods of destruction, cannons, chariots, guns, and catapults.
I've never seen such weapons. You can really make this stuff?
Yup. Ooh! Vehicles that move without horses or manpower.
Yes!
Vessels that travel on water and under it.
A submarine!
Machines that can put a man into flight.
Yeah!
Leonardo got the job.
You're hired.
He was commissioned by Ludovico to build something massive.
A catapult.
A crossbow. A chariot with whirling razor-sharp blades that slice your enemies up like deli meat?
Huh?
Oh!
He was commissioned to build a monument to Ludovico's father, Francesco Sforza.
Sforza would be glorified, triumphantly riding into battle.
He would be in full armor, riding into battle, raising his sword.
And he would be sitting on a giant horse.
Leonardo had proposed this sculpture to Sforza when he applied to work for him.
Step 2, explore.
The monument would be the greatest thing ever built.
Over 75 tons!
It would be cast in bronze.
Over 23 feet tall. 3 times larger than life.
Leonardo was given a castle to work in.
I got plenty of castles.
But instead of focusing on the rider,
Leonardo focused on the horse.
Wait, what? What? He studied horses.
Nay!
He observed and measured them.
He dissected dead horses to learn about their muscles and movements.
He wrote an entire book on the anatomy of horses. He made casts for the molten metal. He devised cranes and machines to lift the giant sculpture. But Da Vinci's masterpiece, Il Cavallo, was never finished.
It wasn't Leonardo's fault. Ludovico was being attacked by the French, and he used the Bronx to make the cannons for the war effort.
There were some positive things I emerged from Sforza horse.
Leonardo made stables with feeding bins that automatically replenish themselves.
He also designed several machines for melting, bending, and lifting metal.
He imagined digging a deep hole into the belly of the horse, then pouring the metal in the belly, and the heat would escape through the hooves. But eventually, Da Vinci realized that the hole would be so deep that it would hit the water table. So back to the drawing board. The most important discoveries that Leonardo made were what he learned about anatomy by studying those bodies of those dead horses. He made hundreds of precise diagrams, charts, and sketches, scores of precise observations and measurements.
And eventually began dissecting them.
The teacher told us that we'd be dissecting a frog. We watched a video that showed someone slicing it open and its guts all over the tray. The older kids told us that it was slimy and stinky and totally disgusting. Leonardo believed that an artist needed to know his subject from the inside and out.
When you're painting, paint the bones. Oh, you may be deterred by your stomach.
I told my parents it's cruel and gross and totally unnecessary. And guess what? They agreed. They called the school and said no child of mine will be mutilating a dead animal. And the school listened.
In his journals are drawings of muscles, bones, sinews, and all sorts of human and animal anatomy.
When I went to class on dissection day, all the kids gathered around their trays with their scalpels and their rubber gloves, but not me. I sat in the computer lab and dissected the virtual online frog. Oh, it was gross stomach and spleen and 30 centimeters of frog intestines.
Leonardo conducted autopsy and dissections to determine how and why bodies moved and looked the way that they do.
I What causes the movement of the leg, the arm, and the head?
I could hear them laughing. I could smell the frog guts and formaldehyde wafting down the hallway. And even though I was scared to death and totally terrified at the idea of cutting up that poor frog, I wanted to be in the lab with those other kids. I finished the lab and everything went back to normal, but I couldn't, it wasn't the same. My fear of being left out was way worse than my fear of dead frogs. For my project, I'll be dissecting this frog.
Leonardo's first anatomical drawings were of a human skull.
When you were painting, paint the bones.
He wanted to know how motions were connected to emotions.
Then the muscles, then the flesh.
How inner feelings became outer expressions.
Then the clothes. Make your faces so they do not have the same expression. What nerve causes the eye to move? Why does one eye move the other? The closing of the eyelids, the raising of the eyebrows, the parting of the lips, the clenching of the teeth, and bringing the lips to a point. What is the cause of laughter?
Let's fly!
Yes,
Let's jump rope.
Yes,
Let's play hide and seek.
Yes,
Let's play volleyball.
Yes,
Yawning, sneezing. How do we express wonder? Hunger, paralysis, and sleep.
Leonardo would use his notebooks to give himself assignments, and 4 drawings represent the 4 universal conditions of man: mirth with various acts of laughter,
And weeping, with various acts of wailing and crying.
fighting with various acts of fear, killing, boldness, and murder.
To gain the advantage.
And destroy their enemies. And labor with various acts of pulling.
And pushing.
Lifting and carrying.
And stopping.
Leonardo's interest in anatomy started with his painting.
But his curiosity led him to other areas of interest.
Like architecture and engineering.
For my project, I want to explore the work of Leonardo da Vinci, the architect. I will do so by the use of 3 simple shapes: the circle, the square, and the triangle. Once upon a time, there were 3 architects: Leonardo da Vinci, Donato Bramante, and Francesco di Giorgio. Di Giorgio was 13 years older than Leonardo, and he was also interested in all things military and was thought by some as Leonardo of Siena.
You want it? I can build it.
Bramante was 8 years older than Leonardo. He was a farmer's son from the near town of Urbino and had great ambitions for himself. Like Leonardo, he was a painter, a writer, and a musician.
I'm gonna be the best.
Bramante, Di Giorgio,
And Leonardo were all remarkable creative partners, and they worked together on many projects for Ludovico Sforza, the Duke of Milan.
That's me.
In 1487, they were hired to spruce up the city's 1,000-year-old cathedral.
Leonardo, Bramante, and Di Giorgio worked together on many projects, but when it came to architecture, they all insisted on one important quality:
Symmetry.
Enter Vitruvius, which is tricky because Vitruvius was born about 1,500 years before the other three.
The design of a temple depends on what?
Symmetry!
The symmetrical workings of the human body are an analogy to the workings of the universe.
Vitruvius described how buildings should have similar proportions to a human body.
There is a precise relationship between its components in a well-shaped man. The qualities of proportion are thus shared equally by God's creation of the human body and the human being's own production of a good building. 1/4, 1/6, 2/3, 3/4.
And Da Vinci and his friends agreed with Vitruvius.
Francesco produced at least 3 sketches to accompany his writing about Vitruvius.
Other friends of Leonardo also did well, under the command of Ludovico Sforza.
That's me.
Leonardo's drawing was on a whole different level.
It has become one of Leonardo's most famous drawings. We call it the Vitruvian Man.
That's me.
The Vitruvian Man has come to symbolize the harmonious relationship between people and the universe.
Inside the square, we see the essence of Leonardo's vision of humans at the intersection of the earthly and the cosmic.
How nice!
In his lifetime, Leonardo produced hundreds of complicated designs for churches, temples, fortresses, all sorts of buildings, just based off of circles and squares.
But instead of relying on Vitruvius' calculations, he used his own. The length of the outspread arms is equal to the height. The distance from the chest to the top of the head is...
Oh, I get it.
I love math.
I hate math.
I hate math.
I love math.
Algebra is like torture.
Geometry is so basic.
Da Vinci loved mathematics.
Mathematics is the paradise of the sciences.
I love math, you can see.
I love the mysteries of math.
Shapes, measurements.
Variables and hidden figures.
Leonardo used math in all of his work, science and art.
He who does not understand mathematics is wallowing in confusion.
I love math you can use.
Will this be on the test?
Step by step, one step at a time.
You can't think outside the box if there is no box.
You keep everything that's true and you toss everything that's not.
He used math to turn his observations into facts.
Study mathematics. Do not build without foundation.
If I can see it with my eyes or hold it with my hands, I get it.
There is only one right answer, and I will find it.
I love math.
I hate math.
I hate math.
I love math.
I hate math.
I love math.
Leonardo da Vinci was an artist.
No, Leonardo da Vinci was a scientist.
Actually, Leonardo da Vinci was an artist and a scientist.
He needed to know how things work.
Observe. He tested his observations by changing where he stood.
Adjust.
He noticed patterns in nature and in life.
Repeat.
He was curious.
Observe.
He took his time.
Adjust.
He recorded what he saw.
Repeat. Observe. Adjust. Repeat. Observe. Adjust.
Repeat.
Step 3, present.
I'm painting a mural.
I'm painting a mural.
On the big wall outside the cafeteria.
On the big wall outside the cafeteria.
I call it the Last Supper.
I call it the Last Supper.
It's on!
In 1503, Leonardo was hired to paint a mural in Florence.
In 1504, Michelangelo was hired to paint a mural in Florence.
Both artists were hired to paint a mural in the same room of the same building.
Michelangelo had already made the famous sculpture of David.
Leonardo had already completed the Last Supper.
Michelangelo was becoming the most famous artist in Italy.
Leonardo already was the most famous artist in Italy.
I'm a Renaissance man.
I'm the Renaissance man.
Ever heard of the Sistine Chapel?
So what? You painted someone's ceiling? Ever heard of the Mona Lisa?
It's this big.
I heard that Raphael broke your nose.
Oh yeah, and how that giant horse got for you.
It turned out awesome, thank you very much.
Neither artist ever completed their mural.
Michelangelo left to take all their work.
Leonardo's mural was painted over by another mural.
Focus on one thing. It could be me or something else on the stage. Now bring in sharp focus. Concentrate on the edges so you can see it as clearly as you can. Now blur it. Unfocus your eyes so that the edges disappear. There actually aren't any edges in nature. All the boundaries between art, science, reality, fantasy, experience, and mystery are soft.
Sfumato.
How do you see your thing? What is different? What stays the same? As you look at it and without looking away, how do you see the rest of your picture? Is your item in focus? Is everything else a blur?
Sfumato.
Leonardo would blur the edges of certain things in his paintings.
He would use his fingers to blend the paint to create a smoky blur.
This technique is called
Sfumato.
I started working alone. Being a genius can be very lonely. I'm not a genius. I have what my parents and teachers call accommodations. I don't really know exactly what that means, but I do know that I get extra time to finish my quizzes. Anyway, I knew right away what I wanted my project to be.
I want to fly.
Nobody really knows if Leonardo ever left the ground. We know he tried for sure. He had a plan to jump off the roof of his studio and made sure nobody would be around to see him when he jumped or flew. This is a model of one of Leonardo's flying machines. The movement starts here with these two gears. There are two circles and rods. The rods measure the circles which turn the gears attached to the mast in the center.
I chose Leonardo's fascination with birds.
I want to fly.
I looked at his pictures and I started taking my own. Some were more about flight and some were more about beauty. Leonardo designed outfits for pageants and shows. Did you know that? Angels and humans with wings. Look how the light shines through and how the fabric changes shape as it catches in the air.
Leonardo was in awe of nature, and so am I.
I want to fly.
Modern science has taught us that the whole world is interconnected. Leonardo seemed to understand that 600 years ago by making observations and noticing patterns in everything, everywhere. He looked at veins and arteries and compared their branching and flow to the movements of rivers, the branching of plants, and the movements of air. He wrote in his journal that the heart is the nut which generates the tree of the veins. That is so cool.
My project is a study of fluid dynamics.
I want to fly.
Leonardo used water as a source of power. He wanted to force water upwards so its weight combined with gravity could move objects and power machines and devices. Drop stones into pools to see how the ripples and waves moved outward into space.
We see Leonardo's life as a gem tossed into a pool of time. His genius ripples out into eternity and reaches us today.
The real beauty of Leonardo's genius isn't what he created, it's what he can inspire us to create.
Beyond all his achievements, his life speaks about human potential, giving us intimations of what we can imagine if we just let ourselves believe.
We knew that we were going to build something big.
Something big!
Like a horse.
A giant horse.
Or a catapult.
A trebuchet.
A submarine.
Or a parachute.
Something that destroys.
Helmets for warriors.
Or something that flies.
Flying is the best. It rocks.
Yeah!
I painted a mural on the big wall outside the cafeteria.
I dissected the frog, and then I took apart an old toaster.
Leonardo wrote everything down, kept all his thoughts and ideas.
He taught me the beauty of line and proportion.
Nature connects us to the universe and each other.
It's also powerful. Leonardo understood we can use that power for good or evil.
For good or evil, Leonardo created beautiful art and wild weapons.
I looked at his pictures and I started making my own. Birds are the best.
Focus on one thing. Bring it into sharp focus.
I love math. I love math too.
Let's hear it for our middle school cast. They were awesome. They were awesome. I always wish at this moment that I had the time to kind of go down the line and tell you about the growth of each one of these human beings and all these human beings who are out here who are only in this afternoon and not this evening. We'd be here for a long time, and I know we want to go have a party, so I won't do that. But the depth of growth has been really, really remarkable. And the way they grappled with this text, this was a hard play. It was a hard play because it's not a plot-driven story. But they each found a reason to love Leonardo. And it's been a really, really, really exciting experience, and I'm sad to see it end. I wanted to just say a couple of things. I would like to thank Mr. Florio and Mr. Bose. Come out here and take a bow. Yes. I can tell you and guarantee for you that without them, this show would not have run. So I'm very grateful. I would also like to thank the newest full-time addition to our performing arts department who did all of the sound design for this show, Mr. LaJoy. We really appreciate having him. I would also like to thank Mrs. Burgoyne and Mrs. Gambino for everything that's out in the lobby. So now we're gonna have a party. Thanks for coming. Go change.